G'day and welcome to A Down Under Yarn. I am your host Fiona, also known as Fifikins. This is technically episode number 80, although I feel like I should be calling it episode 2.1 or something. It's actually been 9 months since I recorded, according to YouTube. I don't know where to start. I've been planning for a while what I'd actually say, and it just doesn't seem. It's such a long story that I don't want to, I suppose, bore people or whatever. I'm not looking for. Oh, my hair's all over the place and everything now. Anyway, sorry. Too long didn't read version. I've had a series of nervous breakdowns. I've had two pretty bad ones. One late last year, then things got quite a bit better. I got a new job. I back doing what I had been doing in a state electorate office, and things went quite pear-shaped, and set me into the deepest pit I think I've ever been in. I've never really thought I was suicidal before. This time I was definitely suicidal. And if it wasn't for my family and friends being around me, I wouldn't be here. So, sorry, here we are. So then as I was sort of slowly coming out of that about 6 weeks ago, I started having a couple of episodes of exceptionally bad, excruciatingly bad stomach pain. First one, in that 9 months, also some really fantastic things have happened. Mill's moved in here, so we're now shacked up together, which is it's lovely. And all the worries we both had about how the kids were going to cope and how we were going to cope and how he was going to cope needing his space and me needing my space, it's been a dream. It really has. So that's just been fantastic. I woke up in the middle of the night and I was in really bad pain. He was on night shift, that's right. He was on night shift. I woke up in really bad pain and I rang him and said, look, I don't know. And he goes, oh, just go and take some Panadol, go back to bed. So I did, woke up and it was fine. And I thought, no idea what that was. Perhaps it was a dream. Then I had an episode on a Sunday afternoon, and again, he'd been on night shift, so he was asleep. And I was out at the market and I started feeling this pain and I thought, oh, this is really bad. So I thought I'll drive home, and I'm in the car. I don't know how I was driving, and I was sweating, and I thought, oh, and I got back here and took some paracetamol and some Brufen and thought, oh, I don't know what this is, and went and had a sleep, and sure enough, a few hours later it had passed. Then 3 days later, again, woke up with excruciating pain at 2 o'clock in the morning, and he was there. And he says, oh, look, go and take some Buscopan, which apparently is a bowel spasmodic type thing, and over-the-counter medication you can get. He said, you've probably got irritable bowel or something. What have you been eating? And I'm like, I don't know, we'd had something like stir fry, something really innocuous the night before. And I'm like, I don't know what has happened. And because I'd been in such a dark place, I didn't know what I'd done to my body. I didn't know what had happened. So I tried to go back to sleep and didn't really go back to sleep. He was on his off week from nights, and he'd finished nights, so he had a week off, just how his roster had been working. And I got up and took the kids to school, and then I had to take the dog to the vet. So I took the dog to the vet, and he came with me, and he goes, you okay? I said, no, I'm in lots of pain here. I don't know what the problem is. It's just not going away. And he goes, oh, how about we ring your GP? So we rang the GP's office, and I spoke to one of the nurses there. And I told her, and she goes, look, it sounds a bit weird because it was sort of radiating all over the stomach. So I couldn't really say where it was. And she goes, look, if it gets any worse or anything, go straight to the hospital. Otherwise, the first available appointment we've got is at 2 o'clock. And by this stage it was about 11. And I said, look, I'll wait for the appointment. It'll pass. It's passed, in the past it's gone. So Mimmel had to go out to the shops. He went out, and when he came back, I was sitting on the loo with a bucket, just dry retching. And he goes, okay, come on, get in the car. I'm taking you straight to ED. when he works at the hospital and he presents there with me, it's not like we get preferential treatment, but they know who he is. So they ushered me in, and because I had severe abdominal pain, they gave me a bed straight away. Um, Not the place I usually go, when I've been for stitches before, or when Imogen hurt her leg recently, or her face, whatever. She had concussion. She was playing rugby and got concussion. Nothing like that. And they're in bed with me, and then they come along and they were doing handover, and they said, look, we can give you some Panadol. And I said, look, I've had Panadol, I don't think that's going to cut it. And he went away, and one of the senior doctors came up and he goes, we're giving you some endone now, I can see you're in pain. So I had the endone, and then, as fast as it had come on, I'd been in hospital for about an hour, and it went. And he goes, look, we want to run some tests. So they went and did an ultrasound, and sure enough, they found some gallstones. And they said, look, we just run some blood tests. Your liver function's not the best. We'd like to keep you in overnight just so we can check tomorrow your liver function. So I thought, okay then. So by this stage I was feeling okay again. I thought, this is just really nonsense. They put me up in the orthopaedic ward because that's where they had a bed. So I'm up in the orthopaedic ward, private room. It was fantastic, especially considering the door had isolation room plastered all over it, but it wasn't being used as an isolation room. That's where they'd put me though. And Mimmel had got his friends to come and see me, so I had a parade of psychiatrists coming in, and I had a nurse's station right outside my door, and you could see them because the next lot would come along and would come in to see me, and they'd be like, oh. And then another friend who works in the patient liaison department at the hospital, who I know as well through some other work I've done, she came to visit me, and they're like, oh my gosh, she's gone to visit her. What has happened? What complaints is she making? But it was all fine. Second day, I thought, it's great, I'm going to be going home. Mimmel was great. He brought me in my knitting I was working on. That's something I haven't got, but I can show that next week, or whenever I record next fortnight probably. Came in, and they'd taken blood. They hadn't got to me till about lunchtime. And they came back in at about 3 o'clock, and here's me thinking, okay, I'm getting ready to go home. Mimmel had been in and spent a few hours with me. He went off to do some things. They said, your liver function's come back worse than yesterday. We're a little worried. We don't know what the problem is. We're organising an MRI. And I'm like, but I feel fine. I feel great. And they said, look, just to be safe, we'll organise an MRI. We suspect that a gallstone has escaped and gone into a bile duct. And if that's happened, if it doesn't get passed, we then have to do a gastroscopy and go up with all sorts of stuff and hook it out. And I'm like, man, oh man. So they said, from midnight you'll be fasting, we're going to put a drip in, and we'll do the MRI tomorrow morning. Well, the MRI didn't get done until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'd been fasting, but whatever, I had my knitting, although it's hard to knit when you've got a cannula in your hand. So I'm trying to, get stuff done, and I got caught up in quite a bit of sleep. And as I said to my counsellor afterwards, I ended up having 3 nights in hospital then, to see that as being more beneficial to being at home or worrying about my job. She said that's the sort of mind state I was in, but in many ways it was a turning point as well, because I was able to just sit there and think, and not like when I sit at home and I worry about the stuff I've got to get done at home. There was nothing I had to get done there, so I literally had 3 days where I did nothing. And I was able to think, and I was able to say, look, there's no way I'm going back to that job. It's not right for me, through no fault of my own. And that was I think was the big step that I had to come to. I hadn't done anything wrong. It was circumstances, and it was breaches of trust with other people that had come to this thing, and it wasn't anything that I'd done. So they did the MRI, that came back clear. The blood tests, they said, had improved. They said they still wanted to keep me in that night though, just to double check the following morning the blood test. So they did that, and they came back, they said, not quite within normal parameters, but that was fine, but they wanted to put me on the waiting list to have my gallbladder out. So I had my gallbladder out last week. Of course, for me, it was never going to be a simple thing. It wasn't as bad as it could have been. It was keyhole surgery. And I had a friend from the union movement. It was really funny, one of the most outspoken doctors at the hospital who I know, who hadn't put two and two together, I think, seeing the list, and he comes up and he pats me on the shoulder and he goes, "Hello there, I'm Dr. Donald." And I went, "Oh, Sandy, comrade, I'm so happy to see you." And so we had a bit of a laugh before that. He was my anaesthetist, so that was really good. But my gallbladder had attached itself to my liver. The gallbladder itself was fine, it was just filled with little stones, so they had to cut away a bit of the liver, which caused a hell of a lot of pain. That's Ninja. She's actually inside, so she's a little bit upset. I might have to go and let her out. Okay, sorry about that. I thought I'd better let her out instead of her barking. So, had that out last week. I was meant to have one night in hospital. The pain was so bad I was on morphine and endone every 3 hours, so they wouldn't let me out for the second night, so I finally got out on my birthday. Thank you to those people who sent me birthday wishes. It was really, really much appreciated. So, part of my first stint in hospital, where I got lots of psych visits, but not for psychiatric reasons, which was really quite funny. She's got a bottle that she's now chasing around. She's like she's a 4-year-old puppy. Hello. Yes, I know. So I got to thinking what I wanted to do, and I was able to have some chats with Mimel. He had some time off, and we had some really, really good chats, and we worked out where things were financially for us. Of course, I'd signed a novated lease on a new car 2 days before things went pear-shaped at work. So that's still a bit up in the air at the moment. We still haven't finally worked out what's happening there. But if the worst thing is that I lose my new car, but I'm out of a toxic situation, then that's probably not the worst thing that's happened. So that's that. I had no mojo from when I last recorded 9 months ago till about 2.5, 3 months ago, maybe. So 6 months where I did very, very little. And Memo was great, would say to me, "What are you working on? What are you working on?" I was working on nothing. For a little bit last year when I was sick, I did some spinning. For the start of this year, sorry, it's annoying, I know. I did some little things, and yeah. Do you want to say hello to people? Ninja, do you want to say hello? Can you get up here and say hello? Ninja. Anyway, so I'd done some things. Somehow, I think it was on Facebook, I saw the mega spin along that David from Southern Cross Fibres was organising, and I thought, I can probably do that, and I managed to get some fibre from David, and that was my re-entry, I suppose, back into the Ravelry world or the fibre crafters world. I've still got some outstanding solar flare fibre business that is almost finalised. I've got packages that are going out on Friday, and it's been 9 months, and I've failed. I was going to get to that again at the end, but I'd avoided Ravelry, I'd avoided so much. I've still got 220 odd messages in my inbox that I don't know if I'll get to. And it's something that I've been working through with my counsellor. And it's something I ask people to have understanding about. I know it's been very hard for some people. I have not been as open as I perhaps should have been. I have not explained things to people, but I basically had all that time where I found it exceptionally difficult to go anywhere near Ravelry, to sit down. I wasn't even sitting down at my computer. I was doing nothing. I was doing nothing, really. So when I first went on sick leave again, Easter time, I thought I'll work out what I'm going to do. And I had all these unfinished projects. I had so many whips, and I thought I'll get some stuff done. So I think the first thing I finished were Mimel's birthday socks from almost 2 years ago, which he's been wearing around, so I haven't got them to show. They were the D-Man socks, I think, and he just loves them. He really, really loves them, so that was good. The second thing I finished, finally, were the kitten poker socks. These are a fantastic pattern by the awesomely talented Lisa Tomko, Sparkle Punk Creations. lighting's going to be pretty crap today. I'm sorry. I just felt in the mood to record something and get something out. I've had a really, really busy week, which I'm kind of getting to as well. So I finished these, and I actually still have to block them, and I'm about to have a big blocking party. So that was good. I actually hadn't caught up with people who I usually VKN with for over 6 months, and it's been challenging. I feel very isolated still from people, but that's me, and I know that. I got very depressed a few weeks ago when the ZK was on, for instance, because I couldn't be there. I couldn't be there because it was Imi's graduation. Not a graduation, it was her prom, and it was fantastic to be there for that. But again, seeing people who I met last year there, it was really lovely catching up on photos, but also painful not being there, if you know what I mean. So yeah, the Cairns show is next week, and entries close on Friday, and I wasn't going to enter anything. I haven't been to Fibercrafters either in 9 months, and one of the ladies emailed me and she said, "Now you are entering something, aren't you?" And this is about 3-4 weeks ago, and I said, "Oh, I'm not sure. I still don't know if I'm up to it." And she goes, "No, you are. You're going to. You need to." So I thought, okay. So I thought, well, I'll use that as a time to get some stuff done. So that's been good. Then at the start of, I think that's probably been done since I last recorded too. I'm not sure how I can get. There's an upside down view. That's my latest tattoo, which is, of course, a lotus. I had that done last September when I was in the midst of my first breakdown, September, October. And I got that done, and it's based on a photo of a lotus that I found that I really loved, because I'm going to turn this way and come around here. Sorry, here we are. Hoping that might give me some better facial light anyway. A lotus grows where it is in the muddiest, in the worst quality the ground, the nicer the flowers, if that makes sense. That's why I wanted a lotus. So that's something I can look down on, and it's something I really love. So there's that. Anyway, so Ninja, please. At the start of June, Lisa, who's Sparkle Punk, called for test knitters, and she said, "Can you do it for me, please? Please." And I had some other stuff I had to do, and I thought, okay, let's do it. So I'm really, really, really glad I did, because it is a beautiful, beautiful shawl. Here it is. It is the Demon Enough for Her shawl. It is in the Cyborg's Craft Room. I think it's called After the Storm, and it's a beautiful muted rainbow. This is a gorgeous little shawlette that used almost a full skein of sock yarn. This is a, I suppose more a light fingering, I can't remember what base it is, I'm really sorry, but it is in my Ravelry page. It's really lovely for just going around your neck, and it only took me less than a week. It was probably my first major thing getting back into. So I did that. I also did some more spinning, and I thought, okay, I bought a bump from Ren and Ollie at last year's Bendigo, and I understand she's not going to be there this year, which is a shame. And I've actually dried it, but I have to, I'm entering it in the show, so I have to knit a sample, just a swatch, and it is a gradient, and it goes, well, it's hard to see, but it's got purples and blues and teals and greys in it, and it's really, really, really lovely. There we go, you can sort of see some of the colours there. It's a merino silk, and I chain plied it, and I'm really quite happy with it. So I'm glad I can do that. I think I got almost 400 yards, and I'm planning on using it for a TGV, following on from what Wendy on Knit One Heart 2 has been doing with her handspun. So there's that. I've got a big pile of things here. I finished off, that's one of the things I did finish. I finally finished my low tide. Now I forgot I've got to sew the buttons on. Again, I'm entering this in the show, why not? And a lot of it is just to show people. I'm not expecting to win prizes, but it's to show people what is possible. So this is my low tide out of Woolmy's Pure in the Neptune colourway, I think, if I remember correctly. And it has been blocked. I've put on quite a bit of weight, and it doesn't fit me at the moment. I will possibly, I hope to wear it again at some stage. So there you are. What else have I got? Here we go. I've got another thing for the show. I knit a Age of Brass and Steam shawlette in some yarn that I dyed for last year's show. One of the categories is an item repurposed from something previously judged. And this skein of yarn had been judged. I'm pretty sure it was called Wine Dregs, and it's in the Merino Silk DK base. So there's that, and it's quite a nice little shawlette type thing. Didn't take very long. I knit it at a conference basically, which was fine, and I did extend it a little bit so that I could use up more of the yarn. So I feel like I'm just doing one huge show and tell. I don't think I'll be getting show notes done, but I do have project pages for all of these things, so if you wanted to go and have a look, you could. This I finished the other day. I cast on in October, did the ribbing and left it. This is the camellia leaf hat, and it is so beautiful. It's by an Australian designer, and I can't remember her name, but again, Ravelry. There we go. I'm not sure if you can see it, but that's the hat there. It's got a gorgeous little I-cord on top. And this is knit out of some yarn I got last year from the Highland Handmaids. Heather of Highland Handmaids had a year-long Colours of Maine, and this is the bean green colourway, which is really, really perfect. It is the merino bamboo base. It's a worsted base. Gorgeous yarn to work with. Really, really lovely. And yeah, it has come out really, really well. So very pleased with that. And that I'll be giving to a friend who's been going through chemo. Then I decided to do Camp Loopy. Wasn't going to, and then I thought, why not? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. And for the first project, I knit a pair of Tintern Abbey socks. You can kind of see the lace there. Again, these haven't been blocked. They're about to be blocked in my blocking party this afternoon. Really, really lovely pattern. I didn't do, it calls for a Flegel heel and a Flegel toe. Is it Flegel? I can't remember which one it was now. It calls for a different heel and toe than what I'm used to. I end up doing a rounded toe, which I don't usually do. I usually do the straight, increase every second row until you get to where you want to be. But I ended up doing this, just doing a rounded toe, which seems to work really well. I did a fish lips kiss heel on both of them. I did them two at a time from the inside and outside of the ball, and that was a revelation. I thought it was going to get so twisted, and it didn't. It was fantastic, except the ribbing, of course, up the foot, their top sock, and up the leg was just pretty boring. To get to the yardage requirements for Camp Loopy, I did add some bit on the legs. And of course, with my chunky legs anyway, they don't go up as high as they would if I didn't have such chunk to go around. I did have to make another alteration. The pattern was written for, I think they said medium and large, and I had just looked at that and thought typical large is usually what I would class as 72 stitches, which is what I use when I knit socks. Again, I'm going to try and move some stitch markers that fell down. I'm not going to because the sun's coming straight in there, so I do apologise. I thought I thought it probably is 72, that's fine. When I was casting on, I'm thinking, the large is only, I think, 64 or 62 or something. And I was like, ugh. But then I looked at the small and figured that with that, if I added an extra repeat, that gave me up to the 72 stitches that I normally do, and which worked out perfectly. So I'm really, really thrilled with how these turned out. Again, knit them during June for Camp Loopy. Would have been quite quick except for the ribbing, which was so boring, which is when I went and did some spinning and did some other things as well. On the needles at the moment, I have been working on, these are the buttons I'm using for my, not a windswept, it's my, you can see my head still not low tide. They're ones I picked up at the Knitpocalypse last year at the button shop, Hank and Pearls, is it? No, that's the other, I don't know, whatever the button shop is in Rochester. Oh, another finished object. This I finished today. I dyed this fibre, spun it, and knitted it today. I didn't dye it today, of course. I dyed it a couple of weeks ago, and then spun it last week, and then plied it on the weekend after I got out of hospital, and then knit it today. It is the Sunday Afternoon Cowl by Kristen, who's K10 of Skein Yarn. You can kind of pick up there the little patterning on it. It was great, and I thought I am going to get it done in 2 hours like the pattern basically says. I got down one repeat, and you know that bit where it says be careful not to twist? I'd twisted it, and I thought I really don't care. I'd gone past that stage. So it has a nice twist in it, which apparently is a design feature, and does sit quite nicely though around my neck. Again, this is going in the show. It's one of those things where you have to show 3 different techniques. So I've done dyeing, spinning and knitting. Yeah, so I'll get to that again a bit later. On the needles, I have my Knitpocalyptic Tubularity from last year, which I have been working on and I have put down to finish this month. I have been following on from what Heather, who's Bunnyfish, does. She, at the start of the month, has her, I suppose, wish list of what she wants to achieve in the month, and she puts it out in a blanket. Well, I'm putting it out in a board at the start of the month, and last month I achieved what I wanted to achieve. This month I've set some exceptionally grandiose goals. I'm not sure if I'm going to get there. I'm partway there. I had the hat on there to finish. I had the cowl. I had to ply that. I still had to spin, ply, and then knit that. So that's done. I had another project which I'm hoping to get to in a minute, but I also want to finish this. So this is last year's colourways from the ZK, the people who did custom colourways. The group of us bought them and put them all together. I've got no idea where I was when I last showed people. That's where I was at the start of the month because I made sure I put a dicky-do in. I'm currently in my yarn there. Pretty sure that is Cyborg's Craft Room. That's 716, Dancing Dog Dye Works, and Marigold Jen. So I still have to go that much of mine. Then I believe I'm going on to Letty Men Fibre Arts. Then one of these is from Fibre Nymph, I think. And the other one, it's gone. It's gone. Not that one. Not that one. I've got some tags in here from them, but that's okay. Look, I've got it written down. It's on my project page. So there's that. My other project, big project that I'm working on at the moment, is my Camp Loopy project for this month. And I am knitting a cameo shawl. This month we had to choose, or last month we had to choose something that we'd like to look at on safari. So I did Tintern Abbey socks, and Tintern was a school I went to, which was named after Tintern Abbey in Wales. And I said that I don't mind when I go on safari, I like looking at historical buildings, but it was also done in a grey colourway, and of course I just adore elephants. So again, I like looking at elephants. This month we had to do a project we'd seen in the wild. The last 2 Bendigos I've been to, my good friend Charlotte has turned up wearing a cameo shawl. I'm not sure if you can see that there. That is a cameo shawl. You start out in one colour, then stripe it, and then there's a lace bit at the bottom there, and it has a nice picot edge along it. I cast that on and thought I was going to do heaps in hospital, but was too sick to do any of it really. So there we are, that's as much as I've done. I think I've done 25 odd picots on the edge, and I've got to get to 50 before I add the stripes in. So I will get to that once I've got my show stuff out of the way. I'm using Mad Tosh Merino Light. This is the Georgia O'Keeffe colourway, which is not coming up at all well. Basically, it's like a green with some, it's got all these greens and perhaps some browns through it, which is not usually a colour I'd go for, but it also has these really nice pops of teal in it. Now the colour I'm using with it is Mineral, and they actually go so beautifully together. It's almost like it's got mineral in there, that little pops of teal. So that's that, and that's in a bag that one of my friends gave me. The only thing I've now got to finish for the show is applying of yarn, which I will do tomorrow morning. It's Wednesday. The entries have to be in Friday by 2, I think, or 2:30 or something. I've got to look at that again. So, excuse me, I'm just going to grab, I don't know where, you will put my lazy Kate, there it is. There's 2 categories for spinning. There's 3 actually. There's art yarn, which I'm not doing. Then there's natural fibres, and then there's blended fibres. And when I looked at the spinning that I had, I've done quite a bit of blended fibres, merino silk, BFL silk, etc., and not a lot of natural fibres. And I wanted to enter 2 in each section just because I could, even though it means that I do have to have a sample and stuff like that. And I thought, look, I can do that. So I ummed and ahed, and I've got my Leading Men Fibre Arts that I picked up at the ZK last year that I spun up. I don't think it's around, I don't know whether it's over there, I can see it from here, but I won't go and get it. Again, I have to knit up a swatch, which I'll probably do some of that this evening. I grabbed, let me unhook this, I'm spinning this on my Sidekick. I grabbed some of my gorgeous fibre from Into the World. This is the, it's not Who Done It, it's Who's This, which is, I think, inspired from the, it's one of the reasons I haven't podcasted in so long, is my brain's just not right still, and I just can't get out, I can't verbalise what I can see in my head, and it really, really annoys me. I keep thinking Johnny Depp, but it's not Johnny Depp, and it's not Helena Bonham Carter. It's the guy who did Edward Scissorhands and all those movies. Tim Burton, there you go. Tim Burton colourways. So this is the What's This colourway. I have fractally spun that. I spun this bobbin first, it's on here. I spun that end to end. And this one here, I actually broke it in half, even though they weren't dyed the same way, to get even more variation. And then this here, I think I split into 6 or 7 different sections. I'm hoping I get probably about a DK worsted weight out of it. I've been getting some quite fine spinning, but I've been wanting to spin a bit thicker, mainly because it's quicker. And I need to get this done. So there's the second bobbin there. I only finished that this morning, so I really don't want to apply it until tomorrow morning. And I figure if I apply tomorrow morning, if it's another gorgeous day like today, I'll be able to then dry it during the day and knit it up at night. Although I do have orientation tomorrow night, because that's my other big news. But firstly, my only other, I don't really think I can call it a whip because I'm about to rip it and start it again. But again, it's for the show. Last year I entered some hand spun, which won first prize. but I was the only entrant, so I'm not taking too much from that. And it was a mixed BFL. I've got spun, I can't remember who spun it, who dyed it, but it was in a poison apple, I think, colourway, and I'd bought it with a gift voucher that a group of friends had given me for my birthday. So it's pretty special fibre to me and ended up being pretty special yarn. When I went to wind the cake though, I'm not sure if one of my kids had attacked it with some scissors. No, they're not too old to do stupid things like that. Or if it had been gotten to by moths or something. We've actually had some rodent issues. I don't know what had happened to it, but it broke off. So I've got it now in like all these little mini balls. And I thought I might as well use all these mini balls to do a softie. So I thought I'd do a bonbon, but people kept raving on about Bonbon, the Little Rabbit by Susan Claudino. I cast it on probably about a month ago, and it's sort of a sport to DK weight, but for some reason I must have grabbed my 2.25mm needles, and it's turning out to be like bulletproof. And I know that I probably won't see anything through there. I don't know. It's not as bad as I thought. You know, when I look at it now and I'm going, I don't know. I might just keep going because there are some pretty thin bits in there. And because I've done that, but I've only done the bottoms of the feet. But again, that's something that I've entered in the show. So I've got until Friday morning to have that finished. And stuffy doesn't have to be blocked, which is why I've left that until the end. Yes, Ninja, I know. So my other big news is I had to make some decisions about what I wanted to do with my life. Yes, I'd still love to dye yarn, but I still feel so awful about the way I left things and the way I treated people so poorly and so badly last year when I just shut down. I just couldn't do anything. So instead of, I suppose asking Mimmel for help and just saying, hey, can you just help me package up these things here so we can get them out to people? I just put them all in a big tub and pushed it under the table and stuck my head in the sand. And I know I upset a lot of people. So I don't know. I actually got a couple of lovely emails last week from people saying, hey, when are you opening your shop again? I don't know if I'm going to. I'd love to. But there's so many awesome dyers out there and I'm not that good. So I don't know. I might do some, but not have it as a regular thing. Yeah. The other thing, of course, was that with the way the Australian dollar is at the moment, it's getting very, very, very difficult to buy in blank yarn or to source blank yarn at a reasonable price. As it is, Australian dollar's worth $0.75 of a US dollar. So, $25 Australian will cost about $20 US. I think that's how it works. Something like that, or is it cheaper than that? It might even be cheaper. Yeah, $20 Australian will cost $15 US. So, yeah, 25 I think is worth about $17, $18. Whereas for me, to buy something 25 US costs me over $30. So to buy in yarn from England or America, I've looked at perhaps sourcing things straight from Australia, and that is a possibility to just totally downscale and use a very limited group of yarns. I'm tossing up. Mimmel's really encouraging me to do it because he says that, it allows me to be creative and it allows me to get out there and do things, which is true. And he's he's very, very supportive and says that it doesn't have to make any money. But I'm not going to go out there and undercut people doing this for a living. That's not who I am. That's not how I work. So I don't know. I really don't know. It's something I haven't quite worked with yet. One thing that has happened very quickly though, must be about a month ago, we caught up with some friends for lunch, and she is a nurse who works with Mimmel at the hospital. and her hubby has built a totally recycled house. Went to dump yards, went to shopping centres they were pulling down or renovating, and grabbed the windows from there. Everything is solar powered. It is totally energy efficient. Reuses all the energy. He gets paid by the electricity companies because he has enough solar that he's totally off the grid. And they grow veggies, and really, really, I think it's somewhere where Mimmel and I would really like to be in a few years' time. That sort of more sustainable living. So we went out there, and Mimmel hasn't been happy in his job. He is quite disillusioned with having to jump through hoops to get registration here in Australia because he was a foreign trained doctor, which is understandable, and it is what it is. But at the same time, he says, I've been a registrar now for 15 odd years. I feel like it's time I moved on. I don't know what I should be doing with my life. So he's again now trying to work out what he wants to do. Anyway, we're out there for lunch, and Fred says to me, have you ever considered nursing? I mean, you'd be an awesome nurse, and there's always jobs for nurses. And if you get sick and tired of one thing, you can move on to another area. And I said, 15 years ago, I wanted to be a midwife, and I'd studied education for a year, and I wasn't sure if that's what I wanted to do. And then I had Jasper, and I really wanted to transfer over to midwifery. And I went to the information night, and it was a new course starting up down in Adelaide, and they said, we're only doing full-time places, no part-time places, and I couldn't study full-time with a baby. So I thought, okay. So I went on and did the education degree. So I thought, yeah, I'd really love to do midwifery. I'd really love to be a midwife. And it's not just the delivering of babies, it's the prenatal care and the postnatal care. So I think that's something that really, really I would enjoy. So did some research, spoke about it with Mimmel, and he was really, really enthusiastic, apart from his jibes about playing doctors and nurses, which weren't really very funny. So then we've talked about it, and he spoke to a couple of his colleagues at work, nursing colleagues, and they were all really enthusiastic. And one of them said, really, study through Charles Darwin Uni, because that's a regional uni and they've got distance education down pat. And they said, I'm pretty sure they do midwifery too. And I thought, And I did some research, and I looked at JCU, which is our local university here. And I looked at CQU, which is Central Queensland University, which is based in Rockhampton, but has campuses now all over Queensland, including a new one opening in Cairns next week, but mainly for engineering. And I thought, what am I going to do? And, when you get a whole myriad of options, and it's deciding what you're going to do. Well, I ended up biting the bullet, and I thought I could do, if I was down south, I'd apply to do, there's combined degrees now. You can do Bachelor of Nursing, Bachelor of Midwifery. And the joy of doing nursing before or alongside midwifery is that you are more employable. And the reality is that you're going to have someone you're looking after who is pregnant, who has other medical conditions that you're going to need to know about, or you're going to have someone who you're helping with their breastfeeding issues, and they've got other issues you're going to have to know about. So, excuse me. So I thought that makes sense. The universities that offer the joint degree don't do it externally, and I'm thinking, great. So that was a 4-year degree, and I'm thinking, nursing is traditionally a 3-year degree. So I'm looking at things, and I looked at CQU, and I was looking at the subjects it offered, and then I saw the program planner for mid-year entry, because mid-year entry would be the semester starting very soon. And the mid-year entry was, and they have they have it divided into 3 terms instead of 2 semesters. The third term, which goes over December, January, which is over the Christmas break that most people have a summer break. It's like a summer school. Apart from first year, there aren't very many subjects offered for second and third year. And way they structure it for mid-year entry for nursing, I don't know if they do it for other courses because I didn't look, is you can do your first semester in term 2, which is the term starting now, and your second semester in term 3, which is over December, January. And they do throw in an extra couple of study breaks over Christmas, so you get that bit of extra time there. And I thought, and then next March, when term 1 starts again, you start second year. So it means that I could do the degree in 2.5 years. Midwifery is then 18 months. So in 4 years, technically, I could be a registered midwife and be a registered nurse after 2.5 years working as a registered nurse. So I thought, okay, I looked at Charles Darwin, and mid-year start would be a 3-year degree. I'd still be doing it in 3 years and finishing in the middle of the year. I looked at JCU, James Cook Uni, which is our local uni here. It would be a 3.5-year degree to start mid-year. And I thought, I'm not keen on doing that because then it would be a lot of part-time study. So I bit the bullet and I applied. I used the last of my money in my bank account. Not our joint bank, we've got a joint bank account now, but in my bank account to pay the application fee, and kind of followed it. When I applied, I got the email back saying I applied, I think 2 days before the first round offers came out, and it said you may have left it too late. We cannot guarantee you'll be offered a space in any of your chosen courses. And I'm like, I only put in one choice, so I'll be screwed. If I don't get that, I don't get that. And I figured that if I didn't get that, I might as well start at JCU start of next year. And that would be a new application anyway. So I thought, okay. So I applied, didn't hear anything, got an email from them saying, we've contacted JCU to get your results from your other degree, and they won't release them because of unpaid bills. And I'm like, what's happened now? So I rang JCU, and I'd applied to graduate a couple of years ago and hadn't heard anything. And I knew I had enough credit to graduate with a Bachelor of Educational Studies. And I thought, so got on to, rang them. And I said, look, I've just been told that they won't release my results to QTAC because I need to have, I haven't paid a fine. They said, oh, you should get a library fine here. You didn't return 4 books. There's $200. Never rains but it pours. So I just took it out. I thought, I'm just doing it. So I paid it. And I rang QTAC back and said, look, I've just got this email from you. I've paid the bill. I know second round offers are out tomorrow. I know you haven't got this. And they said, oh, actually, second round offers are out tomorrow. Look, I don't think it's going to matter. Look, if you don't get offered anything, which is highly unlikely, then look, get back to us. And I'm like, oh, really? So in paying my fine, I got access again to my old JCU email account, which I hadn't used in ages. And managed to remember the password and everything, managed to log on. Yeah, there's an email every month saying you owe us money, but because I owed the money, they'd cut off my email privileges. Not that I'd bothered looking for the last 5 or 6 years, however long it had been. So I've also applied to graduate from there, so I'm graduating, I think, might even be today or tomorrow. I'm not going to be there, I'm doing it in absentia. So they have apparently a university board meeting where they confer graduations for those people in absentia. So I will get a piece of paper on my wall and I'll have some letters after my name. And in many ways that closes a very long chapter in my life, because I was studying that when my marriage was falling apart. And it's one of the reasons I never finished the full education degree, was because I didn't want to do it. I knew I didn't want to do it. And I kept going with it. Even though I knew I wanted to do midwifery, because I don't know what is expected of me. I did really well. I got really good grades. I got a great GPA. So anyway, I got offered the place in CQU. I accepted that on the day, and then got the list of textbooks and went, holy, for education, the education textbooks, not that expensive. I think our most expensive one was our book of readings we used to have to buy, which was $150 each term. And occasionally you'd require a textbook. Nursing textbooks are all around $150 and you need one or two per subject, and I'm doing 4 subjects. Plus, first year students need stethoscopes and fob watches and the uniform that you're going to have to wear on prac. So I set up a GoFundMe, and that's out there. I will put that out there. I might, I'll probably put that in the Ravelry group. So I'll put this up in the Ravelry group. I'll probably put a link to it there. I'm not expecting people to give any money. I've had some exceptionally generous friends already who've really blown my mind with their generosity and their faith in me, which I really needed to know that people still believed in me, because for a long time there I didn't believe in myself. Sorry, it's anyway, so I start next Monday. I've got orientation tomorrow night. I'm doing it via distance. I've got all the online stuff. Some people are ahead to week 2 and week 3 in some of the subjects. There's a couple of them have got stuff up already. I'm holding back and trying to finish off my knitting projects this week. I am going to start on Saturday or Sunday and get some stuff done, because next Wednesday's Cairns show and I'll be there in the afternoon. I've said to the fibre crafters I'd go and spin for them. I'm happy to do that. I am going down to Bendigo on the Thursday. I wasn't going to. I didn't think I'd be able to afford it. As you can imagine, things are pretty tight here at the moment. I went down for my school reunion, my 25-year school reunion last month, and Mum had enough frequent flyer points, so she flew me down, which was really lovely that she was able to do that. And she said, are you coming down for that wool thing again? Meaning Bendigo. And I said, look, I was planning on it. I'd paid the accommodation, but I just can't afford it. And she goes, look, I've got enough frequent flyer points. I'm happy to pay for your flights if you want to come down for it. And I thought, I really need to get back amongst fibre people, and really, really excited that I am going down. So I fly down on Thursday morning, get into Melbourne about 11. I'm going to pick up a car and head up to Bendigo, probably hit up the mill on Thursday afternoon, and then Friday and Saturday I'll be able to have some time at the show and at the muster. I've already said that I'll be at the muster at I think 2 o'clock on Friday. Pardon me. So that will be exciting. There's a couple of people that said they wanted to be there. On the Saturday I reckon I'll probably be at the muster again about 2:30. I was going to do the muster one day, the show the second day, but I'm thinking I might actually do both days again. I don't know. I'll see. I'll see how I go. I'll be staying out at Lake Epilock again with a lovely, lovely group of people who if Bendigo wasn't on, I'd still go down to spend the weekend with them, because they really are, they're my people as well. I felt like that after the ZK, and I feel like it after Bendigo as well, but in a different way. So that's really good to be able to catch up with them. And look, this has really gone on long enough, I think. So yeah, I might get an episode in early next week. I'm not sure. It depends how things go. I might just hold out and do fortnights for a while, although I might want to still get back into things. I'm not sure. I don't know. As I say, I don't know. I'm still a bit unstable. As I said, my brain isn't working as it used to, and that annoys me. It also means that I think things that aren't there, and I know that, and it also means then that people have to tell me very straightforwardly, they have to be very straight with me about things that might be upsetting them that I've done, because I'll read into things, but I have to then say, um, I'll read into things and say, oh my God, I've really pissed off so and so. They, they might have said something, or someone might have a throwaway line somewhere, but I have to then say that's my thoughts and my brain, and it's how my brain's working at the moment. So, hey, it is what it is. And no, for those people asking, I'm probably not going to end up a psych nurse. I know you hide the trees in the forest, but no. No. Although, never say never. And as someone else said to me, I might never even get to midwifery. I might decide that I love the theatre or I love whatever, and I'm doing that. Mimmel's already decided I'm going to be a nurse educator because I've got an education background. He is really, really excited. And I've said to him, once I finish in 2.5 years, if he then doesn't want to continue with medicine, if he wants to go and retrain in engineering or computer engineering or whatever he wants to do, that is fine by me. So yeah, I think that's about it. It's Wednesday. It's the 8th of July, I think. Thank you. Thank you for accepting me for who I am, and for just for accepting me. I'm going to leave it at that. Anyway, until next time, I will say, Uru, cheers.